The November workshop for window treatment marketing pros. This month, we're talking all about maximizing your lead flow with Google ads and pay per click in general. Most of it's going to be around Google ads because that's where people are going, that's where the eyeballs are at. But thanks for jumping on. And today, we're going to talk all about why pay per click is a key way to scaling very quickly in terms of getting the phone to ring. Obviously, that's important for a lot of people. Also, more important in the next 3 months when most of the US is experiencing the seasonality piece of the window treatment business. Leads are a little bit more scarce. And the way to get in front of those potential eyeballs is typically with paid ads. We'll talk about some real examples of campaigns that are generating 5, 10, 15x for what's being spent. We'll talk a little bit about how to structure your campaigns for the best results. And then I want to cover some KPIs, tracking, landing pages, some of those types of things as well to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success when it comes to this. Now, if you're familiar with any of my workshops, I always reference our digital dominance method. These are 12 different things that are kind of umbrellas of things that you need to be focusing on in order to get your business optimized from the digital side of things. Now, inside those 12 are more specific things, but these are the 12 kind of levers that you can pull to start to see some great results. And today we're specifically talking about number 5, which is pay per click or basically paid ads. So take a minute to turn off your phone. Don't look at cats on Facebook and kind of focus your time here. And we'll drive into some really good, hopefully some great value for you that will help you down the road get more leads for your business. My name is Will Henke. I'm the owner at Window Treatment Park Marketing Pros, along with my daughter Amber. She is our integrator and my right hand gal. So we've won lots of awards. I've been doing this 28 years now, and very excited to be able to share with you. We've also been a Google partner for around 12 years. So having that partnership with Google gives us some great insight with some things down the line that we can do that helps our clients optimize their ads a little bit more. And I want to make sure that this is interactive. So I've got another screen up here on my monitor where I can see chat. So wherever you're watching this live, you can use the chat function there, whether it's YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever platform you're watching on. If you have a question along the way, go ahead and type that into the chat, and I'll be monitoring that screen and would love to answer any questions you might have. So, and then lastly, I want to make sure to get you some resources to help you with your business and help you grow. So stick around to the end for that. I'll be giving away some different free stuff and want to make sure to get that stuff into your hands as soon as possible. So if you're watching live and you have a minute, I'd love to have you answer this question. Have you used pay per click as part of your lead generation in the past? When I speak to prospects of mine that want to come on and use our marketing services, most of them have done some sort of Google ads in the past. Um, for the most part, I'd say, yeah, we did it and it didn't work very well. Or yeah, I spent $1,500 and didn't get anything out of it. That's a pretty common comment that I get. And the other one is, yes, we're spending $500 a month on that, and it seems to be working. We're not really sure. Those are probably the two most common comments that I get from that. If you're doing anything, pop it into the chat. I'd love to know what you're doing, and if you're seeing good results from that, that would be awesome. Now, the main question here is, should pay per click be a part of my overall internet marketing strategy? And if we go back and look at the digital dominance method I referenced earlier, yes, it should. It should be the 5th most important thing you should do, according to this. You need to have your website set up and some of your local SEO. But if you need the phone to ring, pay per click is the answer to this. This is the way to get in front of eyeballs the quickest. So absolutely, it definitely needs to be part of it. It complements some of the SEO stuff you're doing. It's scalable. You can add more budget as you see that it's working. So easy to scale up and down. Obviously, the targeting is fantastic. You can be very specific on where you want your ads to show for which products in which area, which is pretty nice. Um, so, yes, absolutely, it needs to be part of it. Now, the best lead gen strategy really is a mixture of search engine optimization and pay per click. Those two things, that's the 1-2 punch to knock out the lead problem that you probably have. Pay per click is great to get things up and running quickly. SEO has some very long-term benefits that can really help your business down the road as well. So let's jump in and talk about why campaigns fail. And I think this is always a big struggle for businesses that maybe try to do this on their own and they jump in there. And I'll also say Google is really, really good at marketing. So they're great at offering some sort of deal to get you in, get you to spend some money, but they're not the best at optimizing and getting things to work well where you see an ROI for that, right? They just want you to spend more money a lot of times. So um, number one, failure to understand the auction process and obviously the complexity of the industry. For the most part, you probably know most of the complexity piece of the industry, or you wouldn't be in the industry. And especially if you've been in it for a while, you probably understand that piece of it. When it comes to understanding the auction process, it's not always the guy who spends the most wins. Now that is a piece of it, but not always the number one piece. Google does have something built in called quality score. So they actually look at each ad and how that ad is working and converting people to leads in comparison to other people that are also trying to show ads for that same search. So you can have a better quality score and spend less than a competitor who's just trying to run you over with a huge budget, and budget is a key word there. There are businesses out there that just have huge ad budgets and think that they can just blast everything, but there are definitely ways to overcome that. That's not a big determining factor. At the end of the day, if you can write better written ads, you can outdo them for less money, which is nice. Which brings me to number two, failure to address competition. You do need to know what your competitors are doing. This is pretty easy nowadays. Just do some searches and see who's showing up in the sponsored results, and then seeing what their offers are, seeing what they're doing, and also paying attention to what they're not doing. Things like advertising for aluminum blinds, right? Most all of our clients say don't spend any time on that because you're up against Home Depot and Lowe's, and you're also getting tire kickers, Craigslist shoppers as part of that demographic. So, you definitely want to know what people are not spending money on as well. So, as with that example. So, always make sure that you're looking at the competition. Don't just jump in blindly and say, this is what we're going to start advertising without understanding kind of the environment around you. Another thing is your budget is spread too thin. You're prioritizing everything or promoting everything instead of just prioritizing the winners. So a lot of our clients early on will prioritize motorization, retractable awnings, things that have bigger margins on them. They can start getting those to sell. Then that revenue will fuel some of your other campaigns that are maybe not as lucrative, but still add to the bottom line. So, one thing you don't want to do is just toss out a whole bunch of ads about a whole bunch of different products and not really have some sort of a strategy behind that individually by product or service. Um, Another thing is not setting up the campaign structure correctly. So I kind of mentioned this or alluded to this previously. Building just one main ad group that says, I want to reach everybody that says roller shades or retractable awnings or custom drapery or cornices, all of that kind of lumped in together, that can lead to disaster. And that can lead to what one of the big comments that I get, which is, yeah, I spent 1,500 bucks and didn't get anything for it. Most likely they just lumped everything into one. And again, Google makes it very easy to do that. So, that's part of the problem, I guess, that you could say, is lumping them all together. And we'll kind of talk about structure related things a little bit later on. Poor targeting leads to wasted money. So targeting, obviously, the right products, the right areas in town is really important. And making sure that you're only showing the right ads to the right people is a huge piece of this. So having that targeting dialed in, and that's something that over time can get better and better as your paid ad campaign grows, longer in time. So, and another one here is failure for a strong call to action. And I see this on website designs too. Like, come to the website and there's not an obvious next step. The same is true for your ads. You really need to have some sort of a call to action there. Hey, take action, call us now, see the details, that kind of stuff. Learn more is another popular one. But having that both in your ads and then on the landing page as well. So making sure that when they land on a page, when they click on an ad and land on your page, that there is an obvious next step there, whether that is most likely a schedule appointment button or something along those lines, making sure that that is really obvious, that they know exactly what to do next when they land on that page. It could also be that they pick up the phone. So make sure your phone number is big and bold and obvious so that they can dial that and set an appointment with you. And then another reason that these campaigns fail is not tracking your results. So you don't know if it's working or not. I mentioned this earlier on. We spend a decent amount on paid ads, but we don't know if it's working. So having specific tracking in place to make sure that you're knowing you put $1 in and $10 came out. Because then the question is, how many dollars do you want to put in? It's a lot easier if you have that tracking in place all the way through to conversion. And by that, I mean tracking the amount of leads that come in and then tracking which of those customers said yes, and then telling that information back to Google so that it knows this type of customer says yes, but this one did not convert. They didn't turn into a customer. So show our ads more to the people that are saying yes, or people like that. So having that conversion tracking in place can be huge. Uh, Creating a campaign and then just letting Google do everything. There's a little bit of a joke in the agency world for me where our phones are blowing up every day from Google representatives trying to help us optimize our campaigns. And as I mentioned earlier, really, they're just trying to get you to spend more money. Google also now pops up on the Google Ads screen, says, here are 7 things that you should probably be doing. And they give you a nice convenient button that says apply all. And very likely those things are not going to help you optimize your ads. They're going to help Google spend more of your money. So you got to be really careful trusting that system from that end of it, or just building a campaign and leaving it alone. It requires very consistent optimization, turning ads off that didn't work, doubling down on ones that did, that kind of stuff. Very important. And I mentioned this, applying the Google recommended change without understanding what in the world it is they're recommending, that can work against you. And I also mentioned, lastly, landing pages. So sometimes we'll come across, well, actually, pretty often, we'll come across clients or customers that are running ads and they're just dumping everybody to their homepage. No matter what the ad is, no matter what product it is, they just dump them to the homepage. So instead, drive them to your product page that matches the ad. So if you're running an ad for shutters, drop them to your shutters page. Even better, drop them to what we call a landing page that is all about shutters. So everything is congruent and matches, and there are not a ton of distractions. So there's no top navigation where they can go look at the about us and they can go look at this. The purpose of a landing page is simply to get that lead to convert, pick up the phone, or schedule an appointment. So driving them to the right page can ultimately help you increase your conversion and optimize what you are spending money on. So let's do a quick Google Ads overview, kind of give you the 10,000-foot view around Google Ads. There are four main types of Google Ads. So there's the search ads, which is what most everybody is used to. And that would probably be the one thing when you say pay-per-click ads that you think of, are those ads that are in the middle of the search results when you're searching for something. There's also app ads. So if you play any games or use any apps on your phone, these little text banners pop up or even videos pop up, and you can run ads on those platforms in that way. That is another way to get in front of people. Great for retargeting, but that's another way to do it. Video ads can be a combination with the app ads too. You can run video ads in an app, but you can also run video ads on YouTube. So think of those pre-roll ads that you have to skip if you don't have like YouTube Premium. You might see video ads, but it's a great way and a unique way, as it says here, to share your story, really make your business come to life. I also see a lot of clients that'll use the shade roller shades going down or up. That grabs attention, and that's a great video ad way to go about doing things. And then last is display ads. So promote what you're up to on other websites. And Google has this huge network of websites where you can actually show your ads when they're relevant on other websites, which is pretty cool. So when it comes to structuring your marketing campaign, we want to do this in a way that obviously costs as little as possible, but gets you the most leads for that. So let's kind of talk through that real quick. I'm going to jump over and make sure I don't have any questions. Okay, don't see anything right now. If you do have any question, pop them into the chat. I'm happy to answer those along the way. I mentioned earlier conversion tracking. You need to have this in place, and conversion tracking is not just the tracking who clicks on your ads and showing that click-through rate, but the fact that you can talk back to Google or Facebook or Nextdoor or Yelp or these platforms and say, hey, this click on this ad turned into revenue for us. Show that to more of those kinds of people. So having that conversion tracking in place, not really an option. That's going to optimize your ads the best, because Google is learning from that who to get those ads in front of more often. When it comes to structuring, we talked a little bit earlier about this too, structuring your campaign into different ad groups that are separated typically by product. It could be services as well, but typically in the window treatment industry, it's by product. So having an ad group specifically for drapery, having an ad group specifically for Roman shades, or shades could be a little bit more generic. Having a separate ad group for exterior or awnings or retractables or something like that. So that as you drive down into those folders, we could call them, that the ads are easier for you to structure, easier for you to organize, and it just makes more sense that way. You can control a lot more things with that. Make sure you have an understanding of the different keyword types. And I think we'll go into the keyword types here in a little bit. But understanding the different types of keywords that you can advertise for. And don't forget about negative keywords. We'll talk a little bit more about that down the road as well. Make sure that your ads resonate with the customer and obviously entice them to do something, right? We talked about the call to action or giving them a next step. Uh, when they're looking at ads, they're typically looking at three different ads at the top of Google, right? Typically there's three. So customers are making their decision from that. If they're going to click on one of those, they'll look at those and decide which one they want to engage with. So having compelling copy there, giving them a next step, and obviously writing an ad that is more targeted to what they're searching for, and better written than the competitors or the other ads that are on that page. Very important piece of it. Make sure that you're using ad assets. So if we look at this example here, you see the main ad, in this case for 3-day blinds. Under there, there's these 4 boxes. These are called ad extensions. So there's the call to action, right? Schedule now. There's design styles for people that are maybe in research mode and not sure what they want to do or what the possibilities are. Curtains and drapery is another one that they really want to focus on, probably a higher dollar return if they promote that, and same for shades. So if you look at the next 2 ads, right, they're a little more generic. This one takes up a ton of real estate. So they have 5 opportunities for somebody to click versus just one. And having those ad extensions obviously make a ton of sense. This is where some split testing, tweaking, and some really playing with these to see how people engage with them a little bit better comes into play. But don't forget about conversion tracking. Maybe I mentioned that already. Some things that are important is call tracking. So dynamic number swapping when somebody clicks on an ad or clicks on your organic result in Google, or they even look at your Google business profile. Having different phone numbers on those different platforms that all just forward to your regular line can be a great way for you to make sure that you're tracking source for each lead individually. And then for forms on your site, make sure that you don't just have one form for everything, that you have separate forms on your website for scheduling an appointment. All of the landing pages for your paid ads have separate forms, so that if somebody comes to the Roman Shades page from a Roman Shades ad, they fill out that form. You know which form they filled out so that you can track that backwards again, so you know what source is providing the best quality leads. And then when you have the conversion tracking in place, you can start to look at things like cost per conversion, or what did it cost us ultimately to get that lead to say, to get all the way through our sales funnel and say yes. And it could be that one campaign or one ad group is doing better than the other, even though the number of clicks is higher, the number of clicks is lower. So it's not always just about the amount of eyeballs, but really about cost per conversion at the end of the day. A little bit nerdy here, but some things called UTM parameters can really help you start to drive down in different platforms that you're using to get reporting from. So it can tell you on these platforms, these leads came from this particular ad, this particular campaign. They typed in this particular term. So you can start to really drill down into this by using some of these, what they call UTM parameters. And I would highly recommend that every link that you put in an ad actually has these added on. Pretty easy to do nowadays to get that all set into place. And then make sure you're auditing all this, right? You want to make sure, obviously, your tracking is working, but then you want to audit it every once in a while just to make sure that things are still working as you would expect them to work. Things do break, or you miss something when you set something up. So always going back from time to time and making sure that those things are working as you expect them to. So when it comes to the most important KPIs, my most important metric on this page is average cost per lead, or CPL. For window treatments, most leads are going to cost you between $85 and $210. There are some factors in there, how long you've been running ads, how optimized they are, how much competition you have in your area, what is the physical population or the amount of potential leads that are out there in the first place. These are all things that give that range It's hard to dial down in a specific area to a specific number, but you should understand that this is probably the average for that awning, $60 to $150 per lead. And then comes down to how good are you at closing those leads, right? If you're really good at sales, then you might close 7, 8 out of 10. If you're maybe not that great, maybe 3 or 4 out of 10. But whatever that number comes down to, you can then extract how much is it going to ultimately cost me to get to a yes. There are some other KPIs here. Obviously, total spend is important, and cost per click. So, what was the average that it cost somebody to just click on my ad? That doesn't mean they turned into a lead. They just got exposed to my brand. And then obviously ROI at the end of the day. That's a huge one as well. So a couple things that we see working now, Google Maps ads. They're a little bit hard to get into. There's no like direct way you can just say always show my ad in the Google Maps, what we call the 3-pack or the snack pack. But you can set your campaign up to potentially show up in that 3-pack as a fourth ad. So I've started seeing these at the bottom of the three now, which is interesting. But in the past, it's always been at the top. And that makes the most sense. It looks the most natural. It just looks like another recommendation for a company that can't get into the 3-pack because their site isn't optimized. They haven't built citations, some of those other things related to Google Business Profile, which I have a separate workshop on our website already. But this particular method is getting into that 3-pack as a fourth listing, which can be huge for potential leads for your business. For the Google 3-pack or Google Business Profile in general, 60 to 70% of our client leads come from this. So getting that fourth listing in there can drive a lot of traffic to your business. So it's definitely not something to overlook. When it comes down to the different ways to do this, structuring from the campaign standpoint, I mentioned this earlier. You want to have basically maybe a brand campaign that is just for people typing in your brand. You should show up naturally in the organic results for your brand, but doesn't hurt to also run an ad in there about your business. You'll see a lot of the bigger players do that. Something that is around general window treatments. So somebody that just types in window treatments near me or window treatments in your city. Those kinds of people probably have something more specific in mind, but starting to get those generic searches into your world can really help out. And then something that's more specific, like awnings, patio covers, shutters, shades, that kind of stuff. Obviously important as well. This is a screenshot of Google ad platform and how you would set up those different ad groups in there, pretty much as I mentioned. And then at the keyword level, you can start to say, okay, show my ads for these specific keywords inside of this particular ad campaign. It also shows you all the different ads in here so that you can see which ones are getting the most clicks, conversions, which ones are getting the best conversion rates, and which ones are getting the most eyeballs. So you can start to get into the weeds a little bit with some of this. At the end of the day, we're really after conversion rate and cost per lead, right? If those two things are in line, you're probably in a good spot. I mentioned earlier not understanding the different types of keywords that you can run ads for. There's basically 3 different ways you can go about this. So uh, in quotes, phrase match is awnings near me. What that means is that phrase has to show up in the search, but it could be words before it. There could be words after it. Um, so somebody could type in awnings near me in Dallas, something like that would still qualify as show your ad when they type that in because they used the phrase awnings near me. So that's one example. There can be words on both sides of that, but that particular piece of it has to be exact. Broad match is custom draperies near me or custom draperies or just these words, not necessarily even in this order. Just the fact that they used one or more of these words in their search, show my ad. So much more generic, much more broad, as you say, and a great opportunity to spend more money, quite honestly. Might be a great way to ramp things up in the short term, but as time goes on, you're probably going to want to start using phrase match more and more so that you're dialing in on the ones that convert a little bit better. And then exact match is means they typed in this exact thing. So unlike phrase match where you can have words on both sides, only show my ad if somebody types in Dallas drapery. If they type in Dallas, Texas drapery, don't show my ad in this case. So having exact match can really help you dial down on what your ads show for when somebody is searching. Whoop. Now, the other side of that is negative keywords. These are words that if they put into their search, you don't want your ad to show for. And typically, these are like cheap, discount, jobs is another big one, ideas, parts, if you're not doing repairs. So, making sure that those negative keywords are in there as well. So, you're not wasting that money on low quality uh, conversions or searches that aren't going to generate very much revenue for you. Competitor names. So we actually have a policy at my business where we will not run ads for our clients on their competitors' names. And the big reason for this is uh, that for the most part, almost for 99% of the leads that come from this, they'll call. This is an example of Sunshine Drapery in Missouri. Some of the other searches that Google said you should probably run ads for. One of those is Blind Ambition St. Louis, which is a competitor of theirs. If we were to run ads for this and somebody calls and they answer Sunshine Drapery, uh, the customer is probably going to say, "Oh, I thought I was calling Blind Ambition," and it's not going to turn into a lead. So very, very rarely does this work to the point where we wrote a policy that we're not going to do it for our clients. We consider this a huge waste of money. If your competitors are doing it on you, good for them. Uh, Let them spend their money on dumb things like that. We're more interested in conversions and getting people that are looking for something specific and helping them answer that particular question. So don't do that. Here's an example of Made in the Shade and a couple of other, what is this? Another company, couple companies that are running ads that are not Made in the Shade dealers locally to rank for those specific terms. Don't recommend it at all. When it comes to creating compelling ads, it doesn't mean you have to write these grandiose, fantastic ads. Really, all you need to do is just get um, the search intent or whatever those search keywords are to match whatever that ad says and make the person think, oh, yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for, and click into your ad. It's not always about the most words. Sometimes it's less is more. Don't forget about some sort of call to action. So in this case, book a free consultation today. So making sure you have that obvious call to action in there so they know what to do next. Uh, if you have a special offer, make sure that that is referenced in there so that they know that right off the bat, there's some sort of deal that you're running at this particular time. Don't forget about ad sent. I mentioned this earlier. Basically, if you click on an ad and you're reading that ad and you click on it, when you land, when a customer lands on the page that you directed them to, make sure that that page smells like the ad that they clicked on. So it's not something totally different, or it's not your homepage, right? We talked about that earlier. You want to make sure that it matches when they click on something about blinds and motorization, that they're landing on a page that talks about blinds and motorization. So keeping that in mind is really going to help you as well. Also, give them one decision. So don't overwhelm them with next steps. Just have one obvious next step in mind. Don't give them too many options. They're just going to end up not converting at all. So a couple great performing ads that we've written over the years typically mention location right off the bat so that the person knows that they're in the right part they're getting an ad that makes most sense where they're at. We also mentioned a lot of brands here and products and services. And then don't forget about those ad extensions, as in the example on the right down here at the bottom. Some other things that you can do to help with that. Uh, Here's a different way to see some of the ad extensions, but making sure that you're really calling out uh, what is the next action, who are we, where are we, all of those kinds of things, and then giving them next steps again. Ad extensions were mentioned. In this case, you've got a couple buttons here because we're on the mobile version. And then we've actually got an opportunity here to put in phone number, a link to book the appointment, a link to their Google business profile, some other things in there that you can add to make that even more compelling. Uh, Here's an example, like I mentioned earlier, where they just get more real estate on the ads because they do that. So having that in there can really help get more eyeballs on your brand. I mentioned landing pages earlier. Make sure that the landing pages match whatever they clicked on, that it makes the most sense, and that that landing page has some trust factors on it. So phone number top right, obviously, but also calls out location and maybe product. Those types of things are going to help somebody think, okay, we're in the right place. They're not going to hit that back button. If they hit the back button, it doesn't matter. You already paid for that click. So you might as well get them on that page as long as possible. So um, we've talked a lot about Google Ads. There are other platforms out there. Facebook, probably one of the biggest. Second place, I guess you could say. Although I would argue YouTube is probably a better place to go than even Facebook. Facebook retargeting, fantastic platform. After somebody has been exposed to your brand, to get back in front of them using retargeting can be a fantastic use of your money, and difficult to spend a ton of money on retargeting ads as well. There's other platforms you're probably familiar with: House, Yelp, Pinterest, lots of different platforms. Nextdoor is another one that's out there. But there are other platforms. For the most part, Google is the first step, and then starting to get maybe some remarketing type stuff set up where somebody is exposed to your brand, they're tracked, and then you kind of loop them back in on a different platform to see your ads. Maybe they were exposed to you through a paid ad or a organic result from a search engine search, and then they start seeing your ads on Facebook, for example, or Instagram or something. This is a great way to get back in front of people that have already raised their hand in some sort of way. There are other systems out there. We have a system called Email Boomerang that basically reverse engineers visitors to your ads, to your website, to different platforms that you're on, reverse engineers them, and then sends them an email that says, hey, thanks for visiting our website. And sounds a little creepy, but most people are past that worried about creepy phase, and they just understand that's part of tracking nowadays. But this is a great tool to get these types of people into a newsletter list, and that you can start sending out newsletters and stay top of mind. All of that can be seeded from Google ads that maybe didn't convert. There are other ways to still grab that audience and convert them down the road, because not everybody is in purchase mode at that particular point. They might still click on your ad when they're just kind of researching ideas and things that they could do. So ways to capture them and get back in front of them are always great. That's our Email Boomerang product. We also have a product called Postcard Boomerang, which is the same thing, reverse engineers their mailing address and drops a postcard in the mail to them saying, thanks for visiting our website. Here's a QR code to come back and schedule your appointment, that kind of stuff. Pretty cool. So, all right, let's review. We've gone through a lot of different things related to Google Ads. Conversion tracking, an absolute must when it comes to getting ads up and running and optimizing them the best you can. Break your ad into smaller ad groups depending on the different products and services that you have. Understanding keyword match. Go back and look through the different types of keywords. Don't forget about the negative keywords. You don't want to waste your money on people searching for a job or DIY ideas. Make sure you're using ad extensions, that your ads are written well, and that you have very well thought out landing pages and not your homepage on your website so that they can convert the best possible. Also, don't forget about costs. So potential from SEO and pay-per-click, uh, different depending on time of year, depending on how early you are into a paid ads campaign versus an SEO campaign. SEO takes a long time to ramp up, but the benefits are huge. In the meantime, you really need paid ads to start feeding the system, fueling the engine. So they both work well together, but have very different results early on. Now, when it comes to hiring somebody to helping you with your pay-per-click, a couple of things that you can ask them is how much is my budget going to go to Google Ads versus the management fees or setting up those ads? That's a big one. Some agencies will charge a percentage of whatever you spend. So the more you spend, the more penalized you are on the maintenance side to run those ads. So be aware of that. Don't forget about tracking. You definitely want to make sure that they have tracking in place beyond just cost per click or impressions, right? Those are two things that can be inflated and look really good, but doesn't tell the whole story. You really need to know ultimately what is my cost per click? How much is my ROI on this? If I'm putting in a dollar, how much is coming out on average? Those types of things. And then make sure you're delineating between paid ads, organic ads, Google business profile, YouTube ads, all the different things that you're doing, making sure that they're separated from a source standpoint so you know which different source is generating the best quality leads for you, which obviously brings me to KPIs. Make sure that your KPIs are set up and you know what you need to be tracking. And then if you're driving traffic to specific pages, are those pages going to be optimized specifically for conversion as well? Split testing is another big one. Google makes this pretty easy nowadays, where you can run 6 or 8 or 10 ads, and Google will show all those different ads. And as some of them kind of rise to the top, Google will show those more often. But you should definitely be turning off those less quality ones and then rewriting some of the top ones to give them new A/B tests. So always be kind of split testing among the different ads that you're writing, and then come up with some sort of targets in terms of cost per lead. For most people, it's going to be as low as possible, right? But within reality, I think 85 to 160 is kind of an average, generic average across the U.S. Your particular location is probably different numbers, but there's still some sort of range in there. But knowing what that cost per lead is, and then obviously your ROI on those as well. All right, so let me jump over and see if there are any questions in the chat. And then I want to get you guys some resources to kind of help you get moving in the right direction when it comes to running paid ads. Give me a minute to look over here. I don't see any questions, which is great. I must have answered everybody's questions right on there. So that's good. Okay. All right, let's press on then. If you do have a question, pop that in the chat. I'll still be watching. Um, our next webinar is all around year-end planning and putting together a plan for 2026 that is going to really help your business grow. That is your 2026 internet marketing plan for window treatment and awning companies. That is the long version name, but really all about planning over the next year and getting things set up in place right now so that you can succeed. That is Tuesday, December 16th at I think at 11 Central. That's the QR code for that. A couple free things I want to get into your hand. My book. If you don't have a copy of my 10 Quick Wins book, this is 10 chapters of things that you can do now that will start to move the needle for your business. Some are related to paid ads, some are related to search engine optimization, Google business profile, social media, all the different things that you can do, case studies, best practices, and things that you shouldn't do when you do those different actions. So grab a copy of this book and I'll drop it in the mail to you absolutely for free when you click that. If you need a list of keywords to kind of seed what you're up to and get things moving in the right direction, absolutely free. wtmarketingpros.com/keywords. You can go there and download a list of the most popular keywords that we run ads for as an agency for our clients. So that is a free list there. wtmarketingpros.com/keywords. There's a QR code if you want to grab that. And then lastly, if you want to talk with me about what you're up to, what you're trying to accomplish, where your business is now, and where you're wanting to go, grab that QR code, jump on my calendar. I would love to have a conversation with you to learn about your business, what you're up to, what your goals are for 26, and if there's a way that we can help you achieve those goals. Or at least point you in the right direction. I would love to have that conversation with you. You can go to wtmarketingpros.com/strategy, or shoot the QR code would work just as well. So thank you so much for being on today's webinar. I really do appreciate it. We do these workshops every single month, month in and month out. The year-end planning is next month. Can't wait to see you on that. We're going to dive into some numbers and really have a good idea of what's going to set you up for success in 2026. Thank you again. Hope you have a fantastic